So all these like different types of methods that we have seen for creating the objects in TypeScript. We have also seen one of things where it basically we creates an object for a class. So whenever we create a class to access any of the methods and property from the class, we create an object. And we have gone through with the complete syntax as well. You can just refer it out, and in the detail again, once we start like using a framework like page object model framework, at that point of time also we'll see how do we create a class. Once again, how do we create a class, how do we create a method, different types of methods, and how to utilize those methods in terms of writing the test cases in using Playwright. Okay. So as per our schedule, if you see, we have completed the objects. We have also completed the class in terms of how do we create a class, how do we declare the variable, how to declare the methods. This part again, once again, we'll be discussing at the time of understanding the framework, which will be probably our uh, day 26 as part of our sessions. So day 26 in the sense like only the working sessions and all. From today onwards, we'll start with the playwright sessions, which we'll be covering up. Like we have already gone through what is the different features that we have in terms of playwright. I've also listed out in the document if you have gone through earlier. So I've given every details like what is the advantage of playwright. We have also gone through in our first session to understand like what is playwright and all. You can also visit those lectures if you need to revisit it again. Apart from that, every setup, like whatever the setup that we require, in case of either you are using Windows or MacBook, I've given every details over here. What is the system requirement? What is the prerequisite like to start with the Playwright? Where can you download the TypeScript? Where can you download the Playwright from? How do you install the Playwright and so on? So we'll follow the same documents going forward as well for our installation, as well as going along with the different types of methods, different types of scenarios that we'll be discussing in terms of Playwright. Okay. So I believe like we have had a huge number of days for uh, sessions were not taken. So like, did you people able to get a chance to look into any of the sessions that we have already recorded for the other sessions? Uh, were you able to look into any of the sessions, any of the recording? Any one of you?
Which recording?
So recording in the sense, one thing that we have provided for TypeScript, I believe like everyone should have gone through with the TypeScript videos completely and should have understood everything. If you have any kind of doubt, you can come up with like the complete TypeScript for beginners. Were you able to look into this?
No.
Yes, I'm Praveen.
Okay. Okay. Any doubts that you have in terms of understanding the TypeScript for now? Because we have
Actually,
completed the TypeScript. We've
yes.
completed the TypeScript. So if you have any kind of doubts, you can just let me know so that I'll cover up. Else we'll start with our session for Playwright.
We'll start this session. We have, I mean, like, whatever you taught, right? Like, it is understandable, but the only thing is like when we go through other examples on Google, right? So it becomes a bit like it might be advanced one. So that in that case, I don't understand what exactly it is, but after getting
Yeah,
uh,
same with
through
me.
some practice or something like that, then we can cover that.
Okay. 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 So also like I provided a few of the practice programming. So were you people able to look into how
Yeah,
is
we
it?
tried, but like if we go through like on Google, there are different examples for that programs, like different methods, different
Different methods and different. I didn't get you.
means
Can you?
like if
Mhm.
you given one program in the
Mhm.
assignment, what
Uh-huh.
was it? Numbers, recurrent occurrence of number.
Okay. Right.
So there are so many like we can use for each if else and uh,
Right.
for
Right. See, uh,
mm.
to solve one program, there are many ways in which we can solve a program. There's
So
not a specific ways.
can we do some programs in this like in any of the session?
Okay. Sure. So for one session, I'll dedicate for the
Uh,
programming itself.
yes.
Okay. And then we can probably go through with it. Uh, okay. But what happened is like one particular program you will be able to complete in different ways. Like there can be a 10 ways in which you can write one particular program.
Mm. So
Okay.
the
So,
issue is like I am not able to write the logic. Like I'm not able to find the logic how I can write. If we get that, then we can write, but we are not getting
mhm.
that actually.
Okay. Okay. So you can just come up like, you should have pinged me earlier as well. But what you can do is like after our session, you can just ping me
Mm.
the program that you are unable to write example
Okay.
that you have given.
Uh-huh.
So whenever program, just let me know. I'll provide you the solution
Uh,
and then try by yourself itself where you are
okay.
able to find it out or not. What about for others? Other peoples were able to go through with the programs, or how is it? Or if you have any kind of doubts in the TypeScript session.
With
Okay.
TypeScript, there
Mhm.
are no doubts, Praveen, like what you have taught, as I said. But only thing is like one program, like there is how to find the duplicates from the array, right? So that
Mhm.
thing you taught us, right? Like using for loop and also the filter method. So in
Right.
Google, like I have seen that. I have seen that, but they have used in like as you said, there are multiple ways to solve that program, like using for
Correct.
loop and foreign loop, everything they have used. But after going through that, I got confused and I got stuck there. So
Hmm.
I thought of using only filter method. Filter method is easy actually
Right.
to
Correct.
get there.
Correct. Correct.
So
Correct.
I thought of sticking to that method only instead of going all the methods what they have solved.
Right. Got it. I see. I can explain you two to three different methods in which we can solve it out the problem. But
Okay,
even if you're able to solve the problem in one way, that should be okay. But anyways, like one session, probably this Saturday, I'll take a session for um this Saturday, if you people are available, then we'll take a session for the complete programming itself. Whatever we have gone through, few of the programs will try to complete in different ways. And then probably you
Yeah.
people will get the concept of how do we write the logic, when can we write what kind of method, when can we use for loop, filter, for each loop, and so on.
right. Okay.
Okay, okay. So in our today's session, let's get started with our playwright topic. But again, I'd request you people, if you have not gone through with the programmings, please go through with that. Try to understand. I mean, as few of our colleagues said that they are able to write, but they got confused by seeing some other different methods. So try utilizing those things, whatever we have gone through. Try to understand the concept that we have gone through till now. Try implementing if you are able to solve the problem in one way, that is well and good. That is also well and good. Okay, so let's get started with our playwright sessions. So first thing, in our first day, we have already completed the introduction of Playwright. Like what is Playwright? What is its introduction? What is its features, and so on. Um, we have also gone through with the complete details of the architecture of Playwright earlier. But let's see one more time, like what is the architecture of Playwright, and then we'll go through with the installation of Playwright. So let's go through with the architecture. How does it look like in terms of Playwright? So it is similar as we have the architecture, like if you understand the architecture of Selenium, if you have worked on earlier, or if you know the architecture of Selenium, then it's very easy to understand in terms of Playwright. If you have not gone through, then it's very easy in terms of understanding the architecture of Playwright. The architecture of Playwright is basically a two-way architecture, like two-tier architecture. What is meant by two-tier is we we need to have a client, which is where do we write the code. One will be the client. The two-tier architecture known as a client and server-based architecture. What is meant by client and server-based architecture is a client is something where you will write the code. That means your local setup. Okay, it can be your the different programming language like Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, or wherever you write the code. Let's say Visual Studio Code, uh, that the editor that we are trying to write in, the programming that we are trying to write in, or whatever the test case will be utilizing the Visual Studio Code. And there we can utilize like different types of languages. It can be like Java, it can be JavaScript, TypeScript. Currently, we are using a TypeScript, so we'll go through with the TypeScript on the side. So the client is something that is your local setup. That means by using the TypeScript, we are trying to write our test case. Okay, and now whenever we start running the, like, let's say we have completed writing the test case. Now after that, we will be going through with running the test case as well, right? To check whether that is working or not. Like, so to running the test case, what happened is like, we need to have a server. What is mean by server is, what is mean by server is, so every tools that we use, either a Selenium or a Playwright, they will have a one type of server. In terms of Selenium, we have a Selenium standalone server. In terms of Playwright, we have a server known as Node.js. That is why we require a Node.js to be installed in our system before working with Playwright. So Node.js is a server here which help us in running the Playwright test cases. So what happened in between is, in terms of the architecture of Playwright is, we write the code in our local system, and then at the time of running the code, it will connect with the server, will connect with the Node.js server. So the client will establish a connection between a server, which is Node.js in our case. And then that Node.js basically will run our code on different browser, whatever the browser that we try to run with. So the connection that we see between the client and the server will be based on the WebSocket connection. I'll explain like what is WebSocket connection and what is difference between HTTP connection and WebSocket connection. So let's see what happens over here. It says that a primary reason for Playwright speed, especially when compared to Selenium, we'll see like going forward as well, the speed of execution of Playwright will be much faster than Selenium. That means whenever we run the test case, execution of the test case used to be much faster than Selenium. Why? There is two reasons basically. One is, in terms of Selenium, we have a Selenium. If you have not like gone through with the Selenium, do not worry for that. But in general, what happened in terms of Selenium is, we write a code in our local system and then we try to run our code. So what happened in between that, whenever it connects to the server, there will be a middle layer in between. So what is in the middle layer is, let me show you that as well. So what happened in terms of Selenium is, this is an architecture of Selenium. We write the code over here uh, in our local system, and using the HTTP connection, this will first connect to the drivers. Let's say if you are trying to use a Chrome browser, then you have to also install Chrome driver in your system. Okay. And second thing is, you need to have the browser that you are trying to run your code in your local system. You need to have. Whereas in terms of Playwright, we do not require any browser to be installed in your system. Even if you do not have any browser, Playwright will automatically run our code on whatever the browser we are trying to run. But before running the code in terms of Selenium, it first our code will be given to the specific browser driver. In terms of Chrome, Chrome driver; in terms of Firefox, Gecko driver; in terms of Safari, Safari driver, and so on. And then this browser driver will run our code on web browser, whatever the browser that we have selected. But in terms of Playwright, the architecture is simple. We write the code, and this will directly connect with the server, which is Node.js, and all the test case that we write, it automatically run on the browser without having any kind of like middle layer over here, which is browser driver in case of Selenium. Whereas in terms of Playwright, we do not have any third party over here. It directly connects with the browser using the WebSocket connection. Okay. So the difference, if you see over here, in terms of Playwright speed, that's where the speed of the Playwright execution will be faster, because it do not have a middle layer, like third party layer, which is web driver in case of Selenium. So that what happened in general is, let's say if execution, like we started executing the code, and if it is taking example, let's say if it is taking, we started executing the code, and if it is taking 1 second to uh, go from our client to the browser driver, and again if it is taking 1 second to execute the code on the browser. So, and again, let's say if you are trying to get the text from an element, then again, what happened in terms of returning the text value for an element, this web browser will return the value to the browser driver, and then browser driver will return us on our local. So overall, if you see, like, even if a single step is taking 1 second of time, overall it will take 4 seconds of time. Example I'm talking about. It might be in a milliseconds as well, but example I'm talking about, it overall it will take a 4 seconds of time to get the text value from an element using Selenium. Whereas if we talk about Playwright, it automatically works on the browser without having any third party layer or middle layer in between. So in case of Playwright, whenever we try to run our code, it first connects with the server by using WebSocket connection. It is similar in terms of Selenium, where it connects with the HTTP connection. In terms of Playwright, it connects over WebSocket connection. And let's say if it is trying to run at the time of execution, it started executing the test case. So it is taking 1 seconds of time, let's say, for example, 1 seconds of time to run our code and then get the text value from the element. Again, it will take 1 second, because our code is directly interacting with the browser. There is no other in between, no party in between as well in terms of Playwright. So it will take like 1 second of time to execute the code on the browser, and then getting the text from the element. Again, browser will directly return us the value. So again, let's say if it is taking 1 second of time. So overall here, in terms of Playwright, it will just take 2 seconds of time. Whereas in terms of Selenium, we have seen like it has taken 4 seconds of time. So this is one reason where it used to be a faster in terms of execution uh, for Playwright when we compare with the Selenium. Second reason is its architecture. That means how it is connecting with the client and server. If we talk about Playwright, Playwright makes a use of WebSocket connection instead of HTTP connection. Now, what is difference between HTTP connection and WebSocket connection? Right? Let's try to understand it better. See, this image I have taken it from the Programmer's Pledge, is one of our website. From there, I have copied it. Now, if you see the connection that it established, right? So it established communication with WebSocket is extremely beneficial as it creates one connection and keep that connection alive until either party disconnect explicitly. This definition I have given myself, only the image we have copied it from other website. Okay, so what is meant by this? So whenever a client and server get connected with the browser or get connected with get connected between the client and server, what happens is that let me show you an example over here. So I have an example, let's say example this one, right? So this is one of a test case that we have written in terms of Playwright using JavaScript. So let's say we have 4 different steps over here or 5 different steps over here, right? So now what happened in terms of WebSocket connection is when we start executing this particular test case, okay, when we start executing this particular test case, do not worry, I'll explain each and every lines of code that we have written over here in our session as well. So whenever we start running this particular test case, before running any of the steps, first the client will connect with the server by using WebSocket connection. Okay, by using a WebSocket connection, first the client will connect with the server. And that WebSocket connection will be alive till we are running our test case. That means till all the test cases are running in terms of Playwright. Okay, till all the test cases are running in terms of Playwright, the connection will be alive. Just give me a minute. Okay, so in terms of WebSocket connection, what will happen is before running any of the test case, first there will be a connection between a client and server, and that connection will be using a WebSocket connection. Now, WebSocket connection is a connection where it makes an initial connection between a client and server before running the test case, and that connection will be alive as soon as we are running the test case. As soon as we are running the test case, in the sense, like let's say if you have 100 test cases, then for all the 100 test cases, the same connection will be used. Okay, the same connection will be used for all the test cases by using WebSocket connection between client and server. Okay, in this case, in the ideal situation, let's say, for example, what happened is like whenever we try to use WebSocket connection, that disconnect will come when all the test cases are executed. The connection between client and server will be disconnected only when all the test cases are completed in terms of Playwright, because Playwright works on WebSocket connection. Now the complete process, if we see like the complete steps, how it start executing, I'll talk about the HTTP connection as well in next few minutes. But let's see how the execution starts, how the complete flow or how the algorithm works in terms of running the Playwright test case. So let's say example, we have written a test case. Example, let's say if we talk about this one. So we have written a test case, which is these 5 lines of code. Now, as soon as we start running the test case, first thing will happen is like a WebSocket connection request is sent from client to server. That means it will try to establish the connection between client and server. First step will be whenever we start running the test case. Okay. The second step, if everything goes well and connection are established, then connection will be like accepted between client and server, which will be happen like all the 100% of the time. Whenever we start running, let's say if Node.js itself is not working, then there will be a connection failure. But if everything is working fine, the connection will be accepted, and also the Node.js server in case of Playwright will acknowledge that the connection have been established between client and server. Okay, so this is the first step that happens before running any of the test case. The first step is a WebSocket connection will be established between client and server. Now, second step is the test execution begins on the same connection. Whatever the lines of code that we have written, all the lines of code will be executed on the same connection. The same connection that have been established just before running, start executing the test steps. Okay. All the test case can use the same connection for their execution. In terms of Playwright, in terms of WebSocket connection, all the test case will be using similar connection that it has established for the first time. Okay, just keep in mind that WebSocket connection will use the same connection for all the test cases. And once the execution is complete, the connection is terminated. So in terms of WebSocket connection, the connection will only be terminated when all the test cases have been completed, like completed the execution. Okay, so this is this is all about the WebSocket connection. Now let's try to see regarding HTTP connection. It says that this architecture is in vast contrast to the HTTP, which is used by Selenium. Now, what happened in terms of Selenium uses HTTP connection, Playwright uses WebSocket connection. Now, what happened in terms of HTTP connection is let's say whenever we try to run this particular test case, we have 5 lines of code. Now, in terms of Selenium, it is connecting based on the HTTP connection between the client and server. So before running the test case, it established a HTTP connection. Okay, in the same way as it happens in terms of Playwright. So the server established a connection that is accepted and acknowledged by the server. That means a client and server will start talking on HTTP connection. But this connection will last only for that particular request. Once the request completes, the connection breaks and a new connection initiates another request. What is meant by that is, in terms of HTTP connection, for each and every lines of code, there will be a new HTTP connection will be made in terms of Selenium. In Selenium architecture, the HTTP connection will be made for each and every lines of code, not for the complete test cases. So example, let's say if the first line of the code is trying to run, then there will be a new HTTP connection between a client and server. After launching the URL, that HTTP connection will be terminated. Again, for the next line of code, it will again make a fresh HTTP connection. And after completion of this, that means filling some kind of things, it will disconnect the HTTP connection. That means, let's say if we have 10 steps in one particular test case, in terms of Selenium, it will make a 10 different HTTP connection. Whereas if we have the similar steps in terms of Playwright, all the steps will work on the same connection. That is what the difference between Selenium architecture and Playwright architecture. That is what the difference between HTTP connection and WebSocket connection. WebSocket connection works on the same connection for all the test cases, whereas in terms of HTTP connection, it makes a connection using HTTP for each and every request that we do. And that is where sometimes we see in terms of Selenium that our test case at the time of execution gets stuck at some point of time due to this HTTP connection itself. Okay, any question in terms of this architecture?
No problem.
Okay, so this will be again one of our interview question. Can you please explain me the difference between Selenium architecture and Playwright architecture? Or they'll ask you to explain me the difference between HTTP connection or WebSocket connection. Okay, so this is the first step that happen in terms of uh, Playwright whenever we start executing. This is also known as architecture of Playwright. The complete details that we have gone through over here uh, as the step by step have given in the detailed manner. Like whenever we start running a test case, it initialize a connection. It initializes a connection, then the script execution will start. Result will be connected, and at the after running all the test cases, uh, tear down process will happen. That means the connection will get terminated. So this is the complete flow. I have also uploaded already this document in the driver. So you can also look into if you want to go through it in later part of session. Okay, so let's get started with the installation of Playwright for TypeScript. Now, whenever we go for installing of the Playwright, the main prerequisite that we need or that we have in terms of starting with the Playwright, or what is the system requirement that we need to have is, first thing that we need to have is the Node.js. We have already installed this at the time of going through with the TypeScript, right? So whenever we work with the TypeScript, our prerequisite used to have something which is like installation of Node.js. We need to have an editor where we can write the code, and we also need to have a TypeScript installed in our system, right? To work with Playwright and TypeScript, first thing that we need to have is a Node.js installed in our system. I'm talking about the software. Apart from that, we also need to have a laptop or a desktop which is having a Windows 10 plus Windows Server, which is like 26. In terms of Linux, we need to have Windows subsystem. If you're working with Mac operating system, then you need to have Mac OS 13 version or more. And for Ubuntu, there are like uh, uh, different combination that it has given that we need to have for Ubuntu operating system as well. Okay. But apart from that, in terms of the software requirement, we need to have first thing as Node.js installed. So we have already gone through. You can, if you have still done the previous sessions for installation of Node.js and installation of Visual Studio Code that we've already gone through. So to start working with Playwright, first thing that we need to have is Node.js. Second thing is Visual Studio Code, which is best for JavaScript and TypeScript. And third is we need to have a Playwright installed in our system. Okay, to work with Playwright, we have to have a Playwright installed in our system. Now let's say how do we create a Playwright? So first thing, at the time of going through with the TypeScript, we created a folder. Why did we create a folder? Because all the code that we'll be writing in terms of TypeScript will be stored in that particular folder. That is also known as a project, right? So, um, so to work with the TypeScript, what I'll do is I'll create another project over here. I'll open a fresh project. So by going to File, click on New Window, and here you can probably try to open a folder. You can create a folder on your system, inside your local system, anywhere. What I'll do is I'll create a open folder, and inside this, I will at any place, I'll try to create one particular folder. I'll just let you know what is this folder for. So I'll create a folder so that all the Playwright script will be stored over here. Playwright. I'll just name it as Playwright TypeScript, and we are in November 2024. So I've just given some kind of identification. So I've created a folder, and this folder I'll just click on select folder to open. This is one way. Second way is you can first create the folder wherever you want to create a folder, and then you can directly go to file and then go to open folder and then navigate to this particular folder and click on select folder. Okay, so what it will do is whatever the folder that we have created will be automatically imported over here. Now, if you see, we do not have anything in this particular folder. We know that we do not have anything. It's just because we have not created any steps. We have not created anything. We have not created any code. That is where we do not see anything over here. Okay. Now we know that how do we open the terminal? Opening the terminal will be same everywhere. Now let's again go to the document. See, I know everything, but everything in the sense, how do we install these? How do we write the codes and all? But again, we'll follow the complete document so that you people will also understand it easily. Now, what it says is, we have to first create a directory in our system so that whenever we create a directory, that particular directory in the sense, the folder that we have created, okay, to store our data. Now, how do we install the Playwright? Okay, so for installing the Playwright, it is saying run from your project root directory. What is meant by that is, whenever you go to a terminal, it will directly keep you to the or take you to the root of the project. That means the complete path, it will automatically display it over here. If it is not displaying, then you have to reach to the folder name that you have given over here. By default, it will provide you the complete path of the folder. Okay. Now here it is saying we have to install the Playwright. We have Node.js already installed in our system. We also have TypeScript installed in our system. Now we have to install Playwright over here. How do we install the Playwright? For that, see, if you have worked on Selenium, you might be knowing that you have to create a pom.xml, which is pom.xml, page object model. The full form is page object model.xml. Inside that, you have to copy from the repository, like Maven repository. You have to copy paste the complete jar details, like jar name, version of the jar, and so on. You'll have to provide the details of the complete details. Let's say, let me show you an example. In terms of the Selenium that we have is, you have to create a pom.xml, which is this one. If you are able to see on my screen, which is pom.xml. And if you open this, these are the dependencies that we have created over here. What is in the dependencies is the API or the library or whatever the tools that we are trying to use, whatever the different tools that we are trying to use, we have copy pasted from the Maven repository. We have copy pasted from Maven repository over here inside pom.xml, so that it will automatically install all the necessary library that it requires. You can see it over here. It has installed everything inside external libraries in terms of Selenium. Whereas in terms of Playwright, we do not have to do any those things whenever we work with JavaScript and TypeScript. Whenever we work with JavaScript and TypeScript, we do not have to follow such things. The only thing that we have to do is we have to use a command known as npm init Playwright. What is meant by that is, let's see over here, npm init Playwright. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to initialize a Playwright. That means we are trying to install Playwright, right? So when we are trying to install the Playwright, or when we are trying to initialize the Playwright, in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript, in both of the way, we have the similar command, which is npm init Playwright. What is meant by that is, npm, we know that it stands for Node Packaging Manager. So we are trying to say here that node packaging manager in it means initialize. Init means initialize and then playwright. So we are saying node packaging manager initialize what? Playwright. Okay. This is the command to install the complete playwright framework and the complete playwright setup in our system. Okay. The only command that we use to install the complete setup of playwright is npm init playwright. As soon as you click or hit enter over here, you'll see that it will start installing. It will not take more than like 30 seconds of time to complete the setup of Playwright. It will not take more than 30 seconds. Whereas setting up the complete framework or project in terms of Selenium will take at least a couple of hours time. Okay. Playwright, like setting up the complete Playwright will not take more than 30 seconds. See, if you just click on hit enter couple of times over here, it will finish installation of Playwright. But in general, at the time of installing the Playwright, it will ask us a couple of questions. The first question that it asks is, do you want to use TypeScript or JavaScript? Currently, we are using a TypeScript, so that is okay. Or if you are trying to use a JavaScript, then you can use up arrow or down arrow to select the language over here. Currently, we are using a TypeScript. So I'll keep it like this, which is TypeScript, and then again click enter. The second question that it asks is, where do you want to put your test cases? So what happened in general in terms of Playwright is, it creates a folder, and inside that folder itself, we have to write all the test cases. Okay, it creates one particular folder, and inside that folder itself, we have to write a test case. And by default, the folder name will be test. You can change it as well, but if you want to keep it like same as test, for now, I'll keep the similar folder name, which is test. We'll see like where it is coming up in terms of our installation, in terms of our framework when it install in this particular PWTS November 2024. When install the complete Playwright, we'll see like what is the significance of this test folder and then TypeScript or whatever the question that it is trying to ask. I'll just keep it as test over here and then click hit enter. Now it is asking us add a GitHub action workflow. This is for the CI/CD pipeline. If you want to use a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub actions, then you can say it as yes. For now, I'll make it as false itself because we'll not be using GitHub actions as a CI/CD pipeline for now. So I'll just keep it as false. But if you make it as true, then it will automatically
Praveen,
create
are
a
we not
CI/CD
covering
pipeline.
this GitHub and CI/CD pipeline?
We'll
Or
also cover the GitHub
uh-huh.
and we'll also cover the CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins.
Okay.
Okay. So GitHub and Jenkins will be taken care of. This is a GitHub Actions, which is again another CI/CD pipeline. But this is not in our session I mean as a part of the Playwright course. But let's say if you need a support for GitHub Actions CI/CD pipeline, I'll also be able to help you out for everyone. See, Jenkins is something which most of the organization will use. If they are not using, GitHub Actions will be for individual person. Some of the organization will use GitHub Actions. Some of the organization, like most of the organization, will not use GitHub Actions. Okay, so that means this is not generic for each and every individual, whoever will be taking our courses. But as I said, the support will be given for all the students. So if let's say if you are trying to use GitHub Actions, I'll explain you all the concept of GitHub Actions as well.
Okay.
Okay. So for now, I'll make it as false itself or keep it as false. If you want to make it true, you can make it true. What it will do is it will just create a CI/CD pipeline. That means it will just create a work in GitHub Actions. Okay.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you, Praveen, like one
Yes.
quick doubt. So, as per my understanding, Praveen, like Playwright will support all languages, right? The Java, Python, and the C Sharp, right? But here it is asking only you want to use for TypeScript or JavaScript. So for other
Right.
languages, Praveen, yeah.
Right. So basically what happened in terms of Visual Studio Code is whenever you use Visual Studio Code, this will mostly suggest TypeScript or JavaScript. Whenever we have to work with, let's say Java, we have to go along with any other things like Eclipse or IntelliJ.
Oh,
If you
okay,
are trying to work with Python, then you have to go with PyCharm or some other things.
okay.
Okay,
It is based on
so
the
it
editor. Okay,
exactly it is depending on the editor that we are trying to use. So
okay,
Visual Studio Code says that I am best for JavaScript and TypeScript only.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
that is why it only supports or display over here TypeScript or JavaScript. That's what I have mentioned in our documentation as well, saying it is basically best for uh, JavaScript and TypeScript over here, best for JavaScript or TypeScript. Okay, so here GitHub Actions, I'll keep it as false for now. And then it says that install Playwright browser. Now you might be wondering, okay, earlier I said that we do not have to install browser, but it is asking us whether do you want to install a browser or not. By default, it will be true. So I'll just keep it as true. But this will not install anything inside our local system. Even if we do not have any browser, this will not install any browser inside our Selenium, inside our local system. Nothing will be impacted by just saying this. What it will do is, we'll see that it will automatically add the browser, like different types of browser in test runner file. I'll just show you what is test runner file in next couple of minutes. So I'll keep it as true for now, but it is saying you can also do it manually later on by just saying that npx playwright install. Okay, for now I'll just keep it as true. It is best practice that you just keep it as true and then again click on enter. Now it started initializing the playwright. You'll see few of the folders will be will start adding over here. So if you see over here, it says that it basically started execution, like started initialization of Playwright. That means installation of Playwright. Okay. It will not take more than 30 seconds of time to complete the execution based on the internet speed. I am currently in the remote area where my internet is very slow. Due to that, it might take more seconds, but if you have a good internet speed, it will not take more than 30 seconds of time. Let it complete. It will take another few seconds of time. So what it will do is like it will install all the libraries that it requires to initialize with or start working with the playwright. And it will start like, what it says is it creates a config.ts file. It creates few of the examples. It also creates a few of the example in terms of how do we write the test case. Then it also create a package.json. It download different browsers, as we have said earlier that browser, like downloading the browser will be true. And then it downloads different types of browser version that it requires in terms of working with the playwright. But this will not install in our local system. Let it install. It will take few seconds because my internet is very slow over here. It will take a couple of seconds. Let it complete. But before that, we'll just go through with the few of the details that it has already downloaded over here. Okay, so let's see how it works in general. So here, if we talk about in terms of the framework or the complete project that it has created by using the TypeScript over here. Now, how do I know it is TypeScript? Whenever you see a file that it has created, that will be inside a test, inside also a test example folder, and also you can see a playwright.config.ts. That means whenever you see a TS is known as a TypeScript. Okay, so what it does is, as soon as we clicked on as soon as we hit like npm initial npm init playwright, it started execution. It started installing the complete dependency of the playwright. We do not have to do any other things apart from just hitting npm init playwright. And it started downloading. It created few of the folders. Let's try to understand few of the folders over here. Whatever we can cover in our previous session, and then we'll continue in our next session. So first thing that it created is node modules. Node modules basically is the heart of the project. What is meant by node modules is a heart of project is, it is something, if we delete this node modules, that means we do not have any setup available for Playwright. Why? Because this node modules consist of all the libraries, all the installation that Playwright has done till now. It will display inside the node modules. If you go inside the Playwright, you'll see like @Playwright. Inside this Playwright, it has installed everything that we require in terms of working with Playwright. This is a Playwright test module. Inside this test module, there are a couple of things that they have given. They have written a class where a test class they have initialized inside the TypeScript, from where we have to import a few of the things from the test. Okay, it has given just module.export. Whenever we see for any classes, whenever we see module.export, that means this particular class we can use anywhere inside our project or folder. Okay. There are different things that it has created, like Playwright Core, different types of dependencies that it has downloaded. If you go inside the Playwright and then go inside test.mjs, which is known as test modules, everything you can see like whatever it has installed in terms of Playwright. So this is a test module, basically a test module of Playwright. What is meant by that is, from this test module itself, how do we know this is a test module but not a test class? Because whenever you create a module or a class, whenever you create a module, you will see the extension as M. You see MJS, right? That means module in JavaScript. So you see, we have a test function over here. We have an expect function over here. We have Chromium, we have Firefox, WebKit, we have selectors, different kind of things. We have request for API automation and so on. So different kind of things that we have to import to work with Playwright. We have to import from this test module itself. Okay. Now you might be wondering, we are working on TypeScript, but it is displaying in JavaScript, like extension with .js. Yes. So it has basically completed everything by using the JavaScript and some few of the things as well by using a TypeScript, where you can see like index.d.ts. Okay, but in general, it have been developed using both combination of JavaScript and TypeScript. What have been developed? Playwright have been developed using both JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay, so this node modules consist of all the libraries that it has installed. It is similar to what we have seen in terms of this one, which is known as external libraries, where you will see all the installation of the jars and libraries. In the same way, inside node modules, you will see all the installed libraries. If you delete this, that means you have deleted the complete setup of Playwright. Now this test module, the complete installation of Playwright have been completed. It has taken a few more seconds because of my internet speed. But it says that at the end, if you see like happy hacking, that means it has completed the installation of Playwright. Okay. So you can see every details over here, what it has gone through. It has also given few of the commands over here that anyways, well, we'll be going through in details in our later session. But these commands are very useful in terms of running the test case, opening the code gen, running the test case in UI mode. That means we'll go through in details. But for now, let's see what it has asked at the time of installation. So first, it asks us what kind of language. We have said TypeScript. Now, if you see, this one have been written in TypeScript with .ts as extension. So all the files that it has created in using TypeScript. I'll just take 5 minutes of time. Read the session. Second question it asks, where do you want to write your complete end-to-end test case? So we have set like test folder by default. So inside this test folders, it has written the test case. By default, it has given a 2 test case over here to start writing the test case. Will you utilize this folder itself going forward to write the complete test case using TypeScript? So all the test case that we'll be going through or will be writing, we have to write it inside the test folder itself. It has also given one example, which is test examples, where it has given like around 30 odd number of test cases. We do not require this. Anyways, all the concept we'll be going through with, but different concept that it has given over here in terms of Playwright, however it works in general. Every details have been given over here in as an example of the Playwright test case. For now, we do not require. So what I'll do is I'll just delete this folder. We do not require that test folder. We also do not require this example.spec, example.spec.ts. We'll create our folder. For your case, you can keep it. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. Or anyways, we'll create the folder. Anyways, we'll create the file. Now this get.getIgnore, if you see, it automatically adds. What is the use of this is, we'll try to understand at the time of understanding the GitHub. Whatever you mention over here, all these files or folder will not be basically sent to the GitHub whenever we use a cloud version of GitHub. Whatever you mention over here, those files or folder will not be pushed to the GitHub. It also automatically creates it. Then we have a package -log.json. This is something where we do not have to touch anything inside this particular folder or inside this particular file. This is a JSON file which consists of key and value pair. And this have a complete details like whatever the installation that Playwright has done. First thing that we can see, it has installed a Playwright and test module. It has also installed a node that we required. Complete Playwright that it has installed. Playwright core and some kind of other values that it requires in terms of installing with the Playwright. So all the details in detail version, as we see as a part of this over here, we provide group ID, artifact ID, version, and so on. Every details will be mentioned over here after installation, but we do not have to write all these things. It automatically creates a JSON file saying what is the project name, what is the version of that, what all the things that we have installed in now. It is saying a test module and a Node.js. That means Playwright and Node.js have been installed. Then another thing is known as package.json, which consists of a few of the details, which will be again helpful in our later part of session. One, it says the name of the project or a framework, what is the version, what is the main file that it has, which is index.js. That means every details it will try to get it from the index.js file. Where is index.js file? That is available inside Playwright and test module, which is this one, index.js. Okay, so this folder consists of the details that what is the framework version. Then there is something known as script. This is very helpful in terms of running our test case. We'll see like how do we utilize this script as a key in our later, probably after 10 or 12 sessions from now. And then if you want to make the name of the author, you can write it over here. licensing, it displays a description. If you want to write for the project, you can write, and whatever the installation that it has done as a part of API or library installation, it has also given the name of the library and the version along with that. So currently we are in the current latest version of the Playwright in the market is 1.49 and Node.js is 22.99.4. Now this playwright.config.js is known as a test runner file. This is known as a test runner file. This currently will not go through in details, but we'll go through it whenever we start, like whenever we see, like there are different things that it has given. So see, we do not have written any kind of code over here. We did not even touch any single line of code over here. It has given everything to directly start running our test case. See, it has also already given the browser, the different browser that it supports. There are 7 different types of browser that it has given. One is Chromium, which is like Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It has also given a mobile Chrome, mobile Safari, Microsoft Edge, and Google Chrome. We'll go through it in detail, like whenever we require. Apart from that, if you see, at the time of installation, it asks us, where do you want to write your end-to-end test cases, right? So this was the question, which is where to put your end-to-end test. And that folder, whatever the folder name that you have given, that folder name, it has placed it inside test directory, right? This is an object. Inside this object, it has given in key and value pair. So it is saying test directory, and the test directory name is the folder that we have created, that it has created. Okay. And if you remove this folder, let's say if you change the folder name, then it will not be able to identify where did we write our code. If you want to change this folder name, then you have to change the path over here as well. Okay. So what is the significance of this? Whenever we create a test and whenever we try to run the test case, the first thing that we'll have is, after making the connection, it will go to this is known as test runner file as well. It will go to a playwright.config.ts and try to see like where is the test directory. That means where are the test case available inside the framework or a project. Okay, so it will see, okay, there is a folder known as test, and inside this, it will try to find out all the different test case that it is having. Okay, apart from that, there are different other things that it has given. We do not have to even write a single line of code over here to start working with the Playwright. Okay, we'll go through these values as well in detail in our later part of our session, whenever and wherever we require. And then we'll try to understand everything that it has given. But for now, if you want to write a code or if you want to run the code, the test case that it has automatically created, you are free to, you are basically ready to run the code. Okay. So with this, I'll stop it over here. But if you have any kind of questions, I'll be happy to answer. Any questions for now?
What is WebKit here?
Right. So WebKit that you see is a Safari browser. In terms of Playwright, it is known as a WebKit. Okay,
It seems
this is
if it, sorry for interrupting. Like if it seems like it support like WebKit, then it will supporting the Safari browser.
correct. Correct. So the name that we see, name for the Safari browser in Playwright uses as a WebKit. So wherever you see WebKit, that means it is saying we'll run the code on the Safari browser. Okay, does it answer your question, Pratik?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Though I am working, Safari browser will be a native browser for MacBook, but we are currently working in the Dex, which is like Windows operating system, but still we'll see that it will run our code on the Safari browser. Though I do not have Safari browser installed, but it will still run our code. That we'll see in our later session. Any other question from anyone else?
And I have one doubt here. Like right now, we install like let's example 1.2 version of Playwright, some things like, and then after some days, like new versions will come, like 1.3 something. Then we need to upgrade our existing project or not? Like,
Yes. Yes.
and
So
what will
for
happen?
there will not be I mean, there will not be any kind of change. The only thing that will happen is the version will get changed for the playwright. And whatever extra it is supporting, you will also be able to use. For that, we have to use npx install playwright. This is the command. Later on, whenever you want to upgrade your TypeScript, upgrade your playwright, you can just use npx install playwright. Okay. There will not be any kind of changes. There will not be any, because we are trying to see whenever any organization or any company will develop any kind of tool, they'll never change anything going forward in terms of structure. If they change anything in terms of structure, everything will get messed up because millions of people use the same tools, right? So even if you install a next version or lower version, there will not be any impact. The only thing that they will provide is some kind of features, some kind of new features in the upgraded version. Okay, so currently as we are using 1.49, let's say later after a couple of months or few months down the line, it is coming up with 2.0. So we can directly use npx playwright install and it will be installed with the latest version that it has given in the market, that it has in the market right now. Okay.
Mm.
Any other question from anyone?
And it's same for VS Code also. If VS Code
Yes.
upgraded,
Yes. Yes. There will not be any change.
okay, thanks.
Okay. Any question from anyone else, please? Okay. So if nothing else, then we'll stop our session over here. And then we'll continue in our next session from here, which we'll be going through with as